The headlines are loud. Trump raging about the Nobel Peace Prize. A Qatari fighter jet base being built inside the United States. Late-night tariffs that crash global markets. America's politics is in full swing, chaotic, noisy, and impossible to ignore. But behind that noise, in the quiet of airports, hotels, and border posts, something far more serious is happening. A collapse which is silent, measurable, and irreversible. Because the data just dropped. And for once, it doesn't need interpretation. It needs alarm bells. Foreign visitors to the United States have fallen by 8.2%. Spending by those visitors, the lifeblood of American cities, has plunged from $181 billion to below $169 billion. And here's the shock that no headline captured. Among 184 economies tracked worldwide, America is the only one where foreign visitor spending is falling. Everyone else is recovering. Everyone except the self-proclaimed leader of the free world. So what really happened? How did the "Make America Great Again" dream end up pushing the world away? In this video, let's find out. There's a silence creeping across American airports, the kind you can feel more than hear. The terminals that once echoed with foreign accents and rolling luggage now sound hollow. It isn't a sudden collapse, but a slow suffocation. A story told not in words, but in numbers. However, before Donald Trump's return to the White House in January 2025, the mood among tourism experts was almost joyful. The pandemic years were over, vaccines had stabilized global travel, and international confidence seemed ready to rebound. Economists predicted nearly 77 million foreign visitors would cross into the United States this year, nearly touching the all-time high of 2019. Hotels began hiring again. Airlines added new routes. City governments drafted marketing campaigns with bold slogans like "Welcome back to America." But within months, that optimism began to crumble. By July, data showed an unexpected 3% drop in international arrivals, the fifth decline in just 6 months. The downward trend wasn't limited to one region. It cuts across continents, demographics, and income brackets. European leisure travelers canceled road trips. Asian tour groups reduced their itineraries. Even Latin American families, traditionally a dependable market, were visiting in smaller numbers. Each missed flight or canceled hotel booking became another crack in the illusion of recovery. Economically, the damage was immediate. Foreign visitors don't just come for photographs and shopping sprees. They inject billions directly into local economies. Every dollar they spend, whether on a hotel, a taxi, or a Broadway ticket, counts as an export because it brings foreign currency into the U.S. economy. When they stay away, it isn't just tourism that suffers. It's America's trade balance, small businesses, and even employment. Economists now warn that this ongoing decline could widen the U.S. trade deficit by several billion dollars, effectively undoing years of supposed America First economic policy. The irony is impossible to ignore. The very administration that built its identity around exports and economic nationalism is watching its most underrated export, tourism, quietly collapse. And as with most American crises, the real cause isn't invisible. It's political. Numbers don't lie, but they don't appear out of thin air either. Behind the decline in tourism is a long chain of deliberate choices like tariffs, travel bans, immigration crackdowns, and inflammatory rhetoric, all working together to send a single message to the rest of the world: stay away. The first blow came with tariffs. Trump's renewed trade war with China, combined with fresh levies on Canada and Mexico, reopened old wounds. The administration tried to frame them as strategic, protecting American jobs. But their ripple effects went beyond economics. They eroded goodwill. Trade partners turned into wary neighbors. Countries that once viewed the U.S. as a dependable ally began to see it as a volatile partner. Then came the travel restrictions. Trump revived and expanded several travel bans, most of them targeting African and Middle Eastern nations. Countries like Nigeria, Sudan, and Libya found themselves back on the restricted list. The message to millions of potential travelers, students, families, and business professionals was unmistakable. You are not welcome here. And it didn't stop there. The State Department tightened visa screenings, introduced expanded biometric checks, and rolled out a visa integrity fee, a $250 surcharge that raised total visa costs above $440 for applicants from countries like India, Brazil, and China. Compare that to $100 in Japan or $80 in Vietnam, and the difference feels less like regulation and more like punishment. Even for those who could afford it, the cost wasn't the real deterrent. It was the symbolism. For millions of global travelers, applying for a U.S. visa began to feel like begging for entry rather than requesting permission. And then, there was the rhetoric. Trump's off-the-cuff remarks about acquiring Canada, about controlling Greenland, about wanting fewer foreign freeloaders, might have been meant as political theater. But in international diplomacy, perception is policy. Add to that viral videos of airport interrogations, immigrant raids, and mistreatment at customs, and the damage to America's reputation was swift and global. What once felt like a dream vacation began to look like a risk. Visiting the U.S. was no longer about excitement, it was about anxiety. And to see the effect of this shift, you don't have to look across the ocean. Just look north, across the world's longest undefended border. In 2025, travel from Canada to the United States collapsed by more than 1/3. Car trips dropped 35%. Flights fell by 27%. For 9 straight months, the numbers have continued to decline. At first glance, it might look like economics, inflation, exchange rates, or domestic trends, but the truth runs deeper. Canada's own tourism sector is thriving. Canadians are still traveling. They are just not traveling south. Instead, they are booking holidays in Europe, Asia, or within their own provinces. The reason isn't financial, it's emotional. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, and current affairs impacting your lives. Trump's trade insults calling Canada too dependent or suggesting it should be America's 51st state hit a national nerve. Add tariffs on Canadian steel, dairy, and lumber, and the neighborly relationship turned bitter. What was once a friendly rivalry became political tension. The breaking point came when Canadian authorities issued a travel advisory warning that citizens with gender-neutral passports might face harassment or denial at U.S. borders. Overnight, social media exploded with hashtags like Boycott USA and Stay North. Families that once loaded minivans for cross-border shopping trips in Buffalo or ski weekends in Colorado began choosing Quebec or Switzerland instead. For a country that once sent millions of visitors to Disney World and Las Vegas every year, the message was unmistakable. We are not welcome there anymore, and that's the most dangerous signal of all. Because if even America's closest friend and biggest customer has stopped coming, what message does that send to the rest of the world? Now, from Europe to Asia, a quiet exodus has begun, one flight at a time. In 2025, Chinese tourism to the U.S. fell nearly 14%, the steepest drop among major visitor groups. Analysts blame a mix of trade tensions, visa delays, and the lingering aftertaste of anti-Chinese rhetoric that spiked during Trump's earlier term. The president's attempt to label China a strategic threat might have scored domestic points, but it alienated millions of potential travelers. Indian tourism, once seen as a growth market for U.S. education, tech, and leisure, dropped by 5.5%. Strained relations over tariffs, Visa restrictions for students and constant immigration uncertainty have made Indian families look elsewhere, like Dubai, Singapore, and even Japan, for vacations and university placements. Even Western Europe, once America's most loyal tourism base, is quietly disengaging. Visits from the UK, France, and Germany fell 2 to 3%, even as European travel to other regions boomed. The contrast is stark. While France welcomed record visitors, the US was losing them. Even Latin America, geographically closest to the US, has shown only marginal increases. Mexican tourists have dropped sharply since Trump reintroduced tough immigration checks and raised visa costs. South American visitors cite long wait times, unpredictable border treatment, and what they call a hostile climate. Then came the March shock, when the White House announced new tariffs on Canada, China, and Mexico. Air arrivals to the U.S. dropped 10% in a single month. It was the moment economists stopped calling it a coincidence and started calling it a consequence. Adding fuel to the fire, more than a dozen countries, including Germany, Ireland, Denmark, and the Netherlands, have now issued travel advisories, warning citizens about possible discrimination or detentions in U.S. airports. Some even explicitly advise transgender and non-binary travelers to avoid American airports altogether. The result? A perception of the U.S. not as a land of opportunity, but as a land of hostility. And perception spreads faster than policy ever can. Interestingly, while the United States tightens its borders, others are flinging their doors wide open and cashing in. Japan, long a powerhouse of inbound tourism, has broken record after record, welcoming nearly 3.9 million visitors in a single month. Its secret? Simplicity. Easy e-visas, clear border policies, and a weak yen that makes everything feel affordable. China, determined to reclaim its pre-pandemic momentum, has expanded visa-free access from 3 to 54 countries, rapidly turning itself into Asia's new tourism magnet. Vietnam and Thailand, once minor players, are thriving thanks to ultra-cheap e-visas and government-subsidized tourism campaigns. They are not just getting backpackers, they are getting business travelers who once went to America. Even Europe, grappling with inflation and unrest, continues to outperform. France, Spain, and Italy are all expected to surpass pre-2020 tourism levels this year. Meanwhile, the U.S., once the undisputed tourism titan, is shrinking. In New York City, long considered the crown jewel of American travel, international visitors are projected to drop 17%, costing the city billions in revenue. Hotels slash prices, Broadway attendance dips, and restaurants face their slowest summer in years. And it's not just New York. Detroit, Seattle, Tampa, and Philadelphia are seeing parallel declines. These aren't just tourist towns, they are employment hubs. When international tourism contracts, so do jobs in hospitality, transport, and local retail. Now the irony is hard to ignore. Donald Trump built his political identity on one promise. That was to restore American respect, to make the world fear and admire the United States again. But respect isn't built through intimidation, it's earned through trust. And trust, once lost, doesn't return with tariffs or tweets. Tourism was never just about vacations or photographs. It was about something deeper, a global relationship, an unspoken agreement that the world could walk through America's doors and feel safe, curious, and inspired. That agreement has been broken. What do you think? Did Donald Trump's America First policy just make America last on the world stage? Or did Trump want the world to stay away from the United States in the first place? In the comments section below, share your thoughts on whether the United States can survive without the world visiting its cities, spending money and deciding to settle there. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, the changing world order and current affairs. Things you need to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.